everyone, and welcome back to the Rebel Show. We are in mid-June in Colorado, and we got to 109, so it was warm. It's toasty here. I don't mind the heat, but man, that's a little bit much, especially if you're not at a beach or something. So I hope everyone out there is doing well. I'm doing well. And today I want to talk a little bit about the history of the Second Amendment. I found this book that's really good. It's John Paine's The Second Amendment Manifesto. And reading through this, I found some really interesting stuff. So I thought I'd do an episode on it. So pretty cool. So let's get right into it. Okay, so arms are the only true badge of liberty. Think about it. Armed citizenry are the only true badge of liberty. The position of arms is the distinction of a free man from a slave. That's Andrew Fletcher, 1869, a Scottish writer, politician, and a patriot. That's the basis of arms, is a citizenry that can protect themselves and their neighbors and their friends and family, make a free person. But if you have no way to protect yourself, with enough men, you could be overpowered and be forced to do anything. Banning guns addresses a fundamental right of all Americans to feel safe. That's Dianne Feinstein, a Democratic senator. Banning guns addresses a fundamental right of all Americans to feel safe. See, we live in a society that's too focused on feelings, and we need to be focused on reality. And sometimes reality and feelings don't mix, and sometimes things are greater than our feelings, or sometimes our feelings are wrong. You don't always need to go by your feelings. You don't need to. One way to feel safe is to know you're protected. And we have the right and duty to protect ourselves and our family. So Dianne Feinstein, not too smart. And then note Benjamin Franklin said, I'm paraphrasing a bit, those who would trade freedom for safety deserve neither. And so think about these things. I think it's pretty cool. I agree. If you're willing to trade your freedom for what you perceive as safety, because it's not actually trading it for safety, you're perceiving it as safety. You don't deserve either. You don't deserve freedom or safety. And we have a lot in the nation like that right now. Much of the Second Amendment history begins in England, actually. In the 17th century, England, after two civil wars that crippled the monarchy, they created an English Bill of Rights. This protected the rights to bear arms, but also the right to self-preservation. Let's think about self-preservation. We have a God-given right to protect ourselves and what we work for and earn and our family. We have that right. And even if you don't believe in God, you should believe that you have the right to not be robbed of what you work for and what you produce. To defend oneself against tyrants and criminals. We have the right to defend ourselves. And if people want to rise up against that, we can stop it. And we don't have to let ourselves be robbed. We don't have to run from the house if we get attacked in our home. We can defend ourselves. Free men, this is 17th century England. Free men kept weapons to protect their homes and borders. Their homes and borders. These weapons included swords, spears, shields, and armor. And all of this combined was what the word arms was referring to. We'll get into this a little more later, but think about arms is more than just a gun. Fighting skills were considered one of the most important skills as a citizen. So how are your fighting skills? Think about that. The Greeks thought it was immoral to separate arms ownership from citizenship. So the Greeks thought, man, we need a society that's ready. The right to self-preservation has always been a fixture of a free society. So that's a huge point to make. The right to self-preservation has always been a fixture to a free society. We got to think about a society we live in. We're teetering on freedom right now. Do we want to be a free society or not? But this self-preservation right should be in the front of our minds. We should be focused on that. Tyrants only maintain a grasp of power if able to do harm to their subjects And notice the term subjects. In America, there's no subjects. Well, technically there could be, but we don't want to get into that right now. But tyrants maintain the grasp of power if they can force you to do something and torture you to get you to do it, right? The United States of America does not have subjects in most cases, but citizens, because we citizens are the king of America. Think about that. If the people have a loud enough voice, those are the policies that get produced and come out of legislature. We, citizens, are the king, for now, of the United States of America. Tyrants always try to disarm those they wish to rule. Wow, they want to rule over people. God created us to be free, and tyrants want to rule. Stripping weapons is a tool used by the few to control the many. Many cultural things came from England to the colonies, the American colonies, including clothing, music, and customs. Early American history is English history. The Second Amendment was inspired by and based on the English right to bear arms. So let's go back a little bit further. The Kingdom of Wessex carried out the three common burdens: to fight the militia, to build fortresses, and to repair bridges. Citizens used to do this type of stuff. We have given it to the government. We've given a lot of things that citizens and local communities were supposed to do, and we've given it to the government. So, like, for instance, schools was run by a lot of churches, started schools to teach children to read the Bible, particularly the Bible. And the churches they created prisons so they could rehabilitate criminals. And citizens used to guard the local communities in the streets at night and stuff. And we've given that over to police. We love police, by the way. But still, we've given things to the government that people like me and you used to do. As England faced greater enemies, they passed laws, encouraged, and even required citizens to own and train in weapons. Could you imagine our government passing a law requiring you to own and train in a weapon? That'd be interesting. Even the lowest peasant was carrying almost the same weapons and armor as the highest ranked knight. So this is interesting. Average Joe, or even below average Joe, was skilled nearly as a knight. Interesting. So you got to take this and you got to transpose it over our society so you can really understand the point and the foundation of these things. Under this logic, American citizens should be able to carry similar weapons to what the United States or even world military would use. We can debate that, because I pretty much think if a government can own it, civilians should be able to own it. There can be a debate there. But moving on. King Henry III continued policy requiring all subjects to own a weapon other than a knife. He built shooting ranges and practiced with longbows. He required people to do this. That'd be pretty fun. What's your job? Oh, I build shooting ranges. Man, I'd love that one. Later, they were required by law to practice with longbows on Sundays. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? Could you imagine your governor coming in saying, Sundays after church from 12 to 2, everybody's required to practice with handguns and rifles or whatever it is? That'd be interesting. In the Statute of Windsor of 1285, Edward I required the citizens to participate in the watch and ward. Now, this is getting back to what citizens were required to do that we gave away. Now, giving things away sometimes isn't necessarily bad, but in some cases it is. So this was taking turns, the watch and ward was taking turns guarding the towns and roads. And I don't actually see that exist anywhere, especially in Colorado. No one's just marching up and down the roads to make sure it's safe. Kind of the police are kind of that, but you typically have to call them. They just don't, well, they patrol, but, they don't really, I don't see them marching up and down the street, especially on horseback, which would be kind of cool. But imagine if we had to watch and ward. What if every week or every day one home was required to watch and ward? That'd be interesting. We call it neighborhood watch now. There's also a hue and cry, calling for assistance and pursuing anyone who committed a crime. This was a primitive police system. If you witnessed and didn't participate in capturing the culprit, you could also be held accountable. So that's interesting. So that's even a more advanced version of what we have now, like the neighborhood watch. Like if you witness a crime and you don't say something about it, you're accountable. And this was actually something that was true in Israel in the Bible, where if you saw a crime and didn't basically shout it out and get some help, you could be charged with the same charges. So this is going back a long ways. And we live in opposite times now, because we don't pursue the bad guy. We don't assist in anything. We take video of it and we post it online. And then that video gets used by the police and the media to manipulate and do as they please. Instead of helping citizens that are in trouble, we literally just sit back and film it. And then that's awesome. Wow. What a society. Sorry, I'm being sarcastic. And I'm running out of time about halfway through this, so we'll have a round two, it looks like. But the history of the Second Amendment goes a lot deeper than just a couple ideas some people had in the 1700s. It goes a lot deeper than that. It's because kings and men and women and leaders have abused power for so long that a way to stop abuse and the way to stop oppression is for people to be prepared to rise up against it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you'd found this entertaining and informative, more or less. But John Paine's The Second Amendment Manifesto is a fantastic read. I would recommend it for everyone. So you guys have a great week, and thank you very much.